This is the Sick'em Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at alansamuelsdcj.com. The Sick'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Brooke Bednarz and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome into this week's Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Glad you're with us. Want to remind you to make sure to subscribe to the Sick'em Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Download it and enjoy it there. Catch us every week for a new edition of Sick'em Podcast and share on social media. You'll want to share this one for sure as we welcome in our guest for this week's Sick'em Podcast. Robert Griffin III joins us for the Sick'em Podcast this week. And Rob, it is great to have you on with us. And as we record this, so pull the curtain back. As we record it, it's a Zoom call. So we get to see your smiling face. So wish everybody could. But it's great to have you with us.
Yeah, man, it's great to be here with you guys and talking. And, it's always good to see familiar faces and hear familiar voices. Baylor's always been home for me, so you guys always have a special place in my heart.
That's good. We want you to always feel that way. You've always got a spot here at Baylor. Tell us, as we do this, you're in Dallas. You're kind of moving around a little bit right now, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for the whole entire offseason. And we kind of got stuck out in California when COVID hit. I was at Baylor in February, and we went out there, kind of just relax, get some training in, and then coronavirus hit and everything got shut down. So LA went into quarantine, and we didn't have anywhere to quarantine. So we went out, bounced around a couple Airbnbs, and ultimately, after a month being out there, decided to make the drive all the way from California to Texas. So it was a nice, 19-hour drive that I turned into 16 hours. Not because I was speeding or anything, just, I'm a good driver, right?
Yeah.
And, we got to see the mountainside, got to see all those things, and it was cool for the kids. And we did it in one drive, so didn't have to stop anywhere. And we've been in Dallas ever since. So we've been here in Dallas for 3 months now, and it's been good to be back in Texas. Get reacclimated to the Texas heat, right, and that sun. It's like nothing else, so it's been awesome.
It's there. Well, a lot of people we've spoken with, including ourselves, have been able to use this time while everything is shut down and people are worried for a number of different things. It's also provided people a time to spend time with their family, and whether that's a 19-hour car ride from California to Dallas or just spending time together at home. How has this been for your family? And Father's Day was just on Sunday, so you've gotten to spend some time with your daughters that you might not otherwise get to.
Yeah, I think, this has been a weird year for everybody, and the silver lining to it all is you kind of get to reassess and get your priorities in line, right? And, it's been tough for a lot of people with whether it's the stock market or being laid off or not being able to work. For me, I don't get paid in the off season. So the off season is usually a time where I get the most time to spend with my family, but this off season has been on a whole nother level, right? I haven't had to go into work and be busy from 6 to 3 p.m. I've been home. So I'm doing Zoom meetings, with my quarterbacks and the quarterback coach for my, which is required. And my daughters are in the meeting, right? Because I'm sitting in the middle of the living room and they wake up at a certain hour and they come and they want to jump and climb all over dad, right? That's what little girls do. So it's been interesting from that part, but I've loved it, right? I wish we could do a virtual off season for the NFL every year. Because you get to spend so much time with your family, and whether that's time with your wife. Obviously, there's no date nights right now because, you couldn't go anywhere for quarantine, but you get to spend a lot of time with your kids and see them grow up, right? I got to see my 9-month-old daughter walk at 8 months,
Wow.
I got to see that. And a lot of people don't realize that as a dad, you don't get to see all those opportunities depending on what time of the year it is when you're working. So it's been phenomenal. Obviously, I don't want the world to be in the distress that it is due to the coronavirus or, this injustice fight that's going on right now in America. But the silver lining is I have had a lot of time to spend with my daughters and spend with my wife, and that'll be cherished for the rest of my life.
You mean to tell me RG3 has not made some miraculously cute, romantic quarantine at home date?
I definitely have done that. Come on.
At home is the key term.
At home, yes.
It's not all just words and stuff on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I put it into action, but it's it's been tough to say, hey, let's go to this really fancy restaurant when we don't know what's going on and what you're bringing back to your family. That's kind of been our biggest concern with it all, is just, if your child was to get sick or something was to happen and it was because you'd be devastated. I can wait. I can wait on those things just to make sure that my daughters can grow up and make sure that my wife doesn't get sick. And I think that's kind of the way people have to think about it. And not everybody has little kids, right? Not everybody has someone that they live with that might be elderly, but you're not doing it just for yourself. You're doing it for everybody around you.
What about workouts? How have you done that? I mean, you got a spot there, kind of a private spot, or how have you handled that?
Yeah, so it's been interesting with that as well.
Yeah.
Out in California, at first I was able to go to a gym, go to fields, and then once coronavirus hit, it was mostly just isolated to the house. Like anybody, for a couple of weeks, you're like, this isn't real. What's going on? Like, is this end times? So I kind of went to a gym that my trainer had, that was his own, personal gym, and trained there for a couple of weeks, and I was fine. But once I came to Texas, all the fields are shut down, right? So UIL made a rule that only kids from those schools can be on those fields once they open back up. But when they were closed, right? So now you're tiptoeing the line a little bit. If you go jump on that field, you can get in some deep trouble. So I just worked it out to where I worked out literally on the street, right outside, and did all my workouts there. For the NFL with the Ravens, we do them on Zoom, so it's a little awkward, right? But at the end of the day, you get it done. And coach is sitting there counting your reps and counting your rest time, and I just did that. And they sent us some equipment, so I've been literally working out, like the what do you call them? The grease heads or the juice heads, right in the middle of the driveway at my house, and all the neighbors are looking at me like, "What is this guy doing?" And so it's been interesting, and I've probably run on concrete way more this off season than I probably have in my life. But you have to do what you have to do to stay ready and get ready to go. So I was able to, now that some things are starting to open up, I've been able to go to SMU. One of our receivers who was drafted, James Prochet, went to SMU, and J-Mo, I know you know that Coach Kaz is there also at SMU, so Perfect. I've had a connection there to kind of go there and train for the past couple weeks, but it's only been on the field, so not the weight room or anything like that. They're still concerned about this virus, and rightfully so. So I just had to make do with what I have, and honestly, my wife has been catching for me for 3 months now. And her hands are phenomenal. It was interesting. I'm like, man, who am I going to throw to for these months when everyone's on lockdown? And I got my wife some gloves, and she's been catching for me for 3 months. And it showed up because my first day throwing with our guys, I was on point and I was ready to roll. So she's a big part of this offseason for me.
Gotta love that.
Hey, congratulations. We've been doing these projects, our teams of the decade, the Baylor football team of the decade, which was a great decade in Baylor football. You were the player of the decade. Great honor there, and that was fun to kind of go back and again, celebrate the big wins and your accomplishments, the Heisman Trophy in there, Davey O'Brien Award in there. That was fun for us. How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blast, right? Like, I get to think back to all those memories with all the teammates that I had, and not just the highs, right? In 2011 when the Heisman and doing all that, but even some of the lows. Like, I still remember, coming into Baylor in 2008, and I'm thinking, man, I'm about to be the fastest guy on the field. I'm about to be the best athlete here. And I go to my first workout because I graduated early, so it's in the spring. I go to my first workout, and I got, Justin Fenty, Thomas White, Jay Finley, Jacoby Jones. Who else can I name? Ernest Smith. You got Joe Paul on the other side. Jordan Lake. I mean, all these guys, and I'm like, we show up to the first workout, and I'm getting blasted. Like I'm getting blasted every running drill you can imagine. I'm like, man, what is going on? Like I thought I was fast. I thought I was an athletic guy, and it just showed me how much potential Baylor had. Because coming in, obviously, the previous year wasn't a great year, and it just, to me, it showed me how important it is to have a culture and to have a winning mindset, because Baylor has always had the talent. And we saw that, we went 4-8 that year. And then the next year we came out, started 3-1 before I tore my ACL. And that year was like devastating for me because I felt really bad for the seniors, right? You know, Joe Paul, Jordan Lake, and those guys, J.D. Walton, my center, because they didn't get an opportunity to go to a bowl game. And I kind of put a lot of that weight and pressure on myself because I was the starting quarterback and I went down, and we went from 3-1 and finished the year again at 4-8. So to revisit all those memories, it's not just the Heisman, it's the journey to get to the Heisman, right? Because of that injury, I fell in love with football. I got to watch my guys go to practice, and I had to sit in the training room and do rehab. And I'm like, man, this is the worst. I don't ever want to be here again. This is the worst possible feeling. And at that time, Joe, I was still determining whether or not I was going to run track.
Sure.
So because I fell in love with football, because of what I was missing out on, I stopped running track. And I made the commitment to, I'm going to play football. I'm going to do this for my school, for my teammates. And I put on like an ungodly amount of weight. It was good weight, right? I think I went from 203 pounds. I came back that next year. I was 229 pounds.
Wow.
And I put on a lot of upper body strength, and I said, I'm going to make myself look like a football player. I'm going to fully commit to this and give myself a chance and give our team a chance. And, that year we ended the bowl drought. We did all these things. We had I think we were 7-2 at one point. And then we kind of fell off the wagon because we weren't ready for that success. And then the following year we came back and had a phenomenal year, and the Heisman and everything else is history. But it's the journey to get there that is so special for me, that I was able to kind of go back through and see the names that were on that list. And I'm like, man, I remember that guy. I remember, how hard he worked, how much adversity he had to go through to get to where he was. And it was just really cool. Now, it also made me feel old because, I'm a 2000, I guess I had 2 years in the decade, 2010, 2011,
right.
Just 1 year. But like, man, time is flying. It's 2020 now. It's been, 8 years, 9 years since I've been in college, but those memories will last a lifetime.
I'm curious. You were world-class track guy, and the Olympic trials, you could have been there. You were there with that. Was there ever? That had to have been a tough decision, when you finally went all football and got away from track.
It was a tough decision. My original goal when I graduated early from high school, and I was in college as a high school senior in the spring, the goal was to come in and not do spring ball. I wasn't going to do spring ball that year. I was going to go and run track the whole spring to give myself the best opportunity to make the Olympic team. At the time, I was the number one hurdler in the nation for high schoolers. I think I was, probably like top 15 or something, maybe top 10 amongst all hurdlers in the entire world, especially in the U.S. And coach he kind of told me, if you come, you can just go run track. And then, he kind of reneged on that a little bit.
Yeah, come on over here.
That's great.
I gotta keep it honest with you. He kind of reneged on that. And he kind of told me he needed me to do spring ball because I wanted to start and I wanted to play. But at that time, really football was just, I played because I was good and I knew I could get a scholarship, and I didn't just want to run track. So when I got to Baylor, I did spring ball, and I was the starter coming out of spring ball. A lot of people don't remember that. I didn't actually start as a true freshman in the first game, but I was a starter coming out of spring ball. So I won the competition, at least at that point. And then I went to track. I trained for 2 weeks, and then I went and I ran a track meet. I think it was the Michael Johnson invite. And I did well. I got second, but I was really upset that I got second. And only after 2 weeks of training, and I went to the next meet and I totally bombed. I completely bombed that next track meet. So I took the next week off and I did some training that I was used to from high school. And I went out and I won the Big 12 and won regionals and got third in nationals. And then went to the trials, and to Coach Browse's credit, he came to the trials. He came to Olympic trials. I ran the trials. I made it to semifinals, and I got fifth in my heat in the semifinals, one spot away from making the finals.
Wow.
No.
It was tough for me too, because I got to the finish line and the guy who got fourth saw me closing on him near the finish line and gave that like one step of extra energy just to pass the line before me.
Wow.
So that was really the last time I actually ran the 400 hurdles, which was my event, competitively. And I've always thought, like, man, what could have been if I had stayed there? And some people think I made the decision for financial reasons, but at that time for me, it wasn't about that, right? I didn't come from money, so the money that I would have been able to make as a track athlete would still have been life-changing money as compared to football. I really just made the decision because of that injury. It got hurt, and I felt like a lot of people down, and I wanted to not have anybody feel that way, especially the Baylor community. So I think I made the right decision. You know, who knows? Maybe I'll still be able to run track when I'm done. You know.
Here for you, your family, and our community. Allen Samuels is open for business. Shop safely in our showroom. Our service and parts departments are open. There's free pickup and delivery for all service work. All safely sanitized when returned. We'll even deliver test drive vehicles to your home or office. Shop and buy totally online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. We're ready to help. Always your friend in the car business. Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat.
Bentwood Realty is a full-service real estate firm with more than 70 high-achieving agents who desire to make a positive impact in their local communities. Their agents stay actively involved in all buying, selling, and investing real estate transactions to make sure their clients receive the utmost level of service. Established in 2011 by brokers Kim Galvan and Rick Hines, both proud Baylor alumni. Call Bentwood Realty today, 254-300-4800. They're at 601 Lake Air Drive in Waco and BentwoodRealty.com.
Now, back to the Sikkim Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat.
You talked about, that injury kind of pausing football for you and letting you kind of find the joy in it again and fall in love with the sport. Do you kind of feel that way now? I mean, you just said you were out back playing football on the street like I'm sure you were as a kid, and here you are, in the NFL, and you kind of have this time to pause and go back out there to your roots and play street ball a little bit with your wife.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's this year, and I'll talk about this year, but really 2017 when I was out of the league. And I think you guys, we all have our own life experiences, but whenever something's taken away from you, one of two things happens, right? You either, you love it so much that you can't let it go and it drives you more, or you move on, right? You realize, oh man, maybe I didn't want it as much as I thought I wanted it. And when I was out in 2017 and I'm out of the track and I'm running, because I went back to do some track training just to get back to my roots. And I went out to the track and I'm running these hurdles. I'm running a 300 hurdle buildup, which if no one knows what that is, you run one and then you run two and then you come back and you run three and you go all the way up to 8 because you only can get 8 in 300 meters. I'm on number 7 and I'm dying, guys. I mean, I am just, legs are gone. Everything feels like jello. My wife looks at me. She says, "Why are you doing this?" So, well, I said I was going to do all 8. So I'm going to do all 8. Right? Military background, do what you say you're going to do, finish all this, right? I'm giving her that whole dissertation. She's like, yeah, but you can't breathe and your legs look like they're on backwards. Like you're running in place right now. So yeah, but I said, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it. And I finished running and I'm laid out on the floor. Like she tries to massage my leg a little bit. And I'm like, don't touch me. Like I'm that tired. I'm that tired. Like I'm like,
just leave me.
This, the end of the world. It's over. And, after that day, I went out the next day and I was throwing footballs at a palm tree. And I posted the video. People were like making fun of the video, like, oh, look at him. He's throwing at palm trees. And, I kind of just told my wife that being out of the league made me want it even more. And I had turned down some opportunities in 2017 because I didn't feel like they were the right opportunities and I wasn't going to get paid enough. And I ended up taking an opportunity in 2018 that paid me right around the same that I had turned down the year before. And the reasoning was I wasn't going to be the reason. I wasn't going to be the reason that I wasn't successful. And I kind of tell people that now. You have to take the opportunity even when sometimes it doesn't feel like it's the right thing, or you feel like you're undervalued or whatever it may be, and you have to make the most of it. So I took that opportunity as the fourth quarterback in Baltimore, and I made the team. And then because of what I did that year, they signed me back to a 2-year deal. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still not getting paid what I want, but at the same time, I am being valued, and I am showing them what my worth is. And, prayerfully in the near future, I'll be rewarded for that. But being out of football made me want the game even more. I already loved the game, right? I told you I loved it after I got hurt at Baylor. But it made me want it even more and showed me that this is what God had called me to do. There's no way you take a year off of football and come back and play as well as I did in the 2018 preseason and then go out there this year and play as well as I did when I had the opportunities to play. Or go beat the Pittsburgh Steelers when they're playing for everything in the last game of the season. And that wasn't on me. My teammates had a big part of that, and God had a big part of that. But being out and the way this year has gone, it just kind of refreshes everything. And I just think back to high school sports. You play football, and you go right into another sport. So what is it? Is it basketball? I think it's basketball. So you play football, you go right into basketball if you play basketball. From basketball, you go right into track if you run track, or soccer if you do soccer, or baseball if you play baseball. And it kind of keeps you fresh, right? You're not focused only on that one sport. So right now I've had the opportunity to work on my speed, work on my strength, work on throwing the football, and not be bogged down by constantly looking at or practicing against the defense or constantly being in those meetings all day. So I think it kind of refreshes you so that when we go back, prayerfully we're able to go back at the end of July, it's new, right? And now there's a downfall to that if you're a young guy and you don't know how to play NFL football. But for a 30-year-old quarterback like myself who wants to play for 10, 15 more years, and I've already done it for 7 or 8, I get to go back out there and I get to see it, and I get to go out there and play and do all these things. But at the same time, it's rejuvenating. It's not the same old routine over and over and over.
And I see, and knowing you a little bit like I do, this doesn't surprise me at all, but you are preparing in Baltimore like you're the starter, preparing as a starter. Explain to people watching, listening to this, that mentality that you have there. Yeah,
so obviously in the NFL, it's for quarterbacks, it's not like, the NBA, right? If you're the starting point guard, you're gonna get minutes, right? Is it 40 minutes in a game, something like that? You're going to get, 37, 36 of those minutes, depending on if you're LeBron, maybe you play all 40. Who knows? But in the NFL, as a quarterback, only one guy plays. So if the one guy goes down, whoever the backup is at that time, or as I like to call him, the second starter, whoever the second starter is the guy who's got to go in and play. Well, the second starter is going into play with no reps all week. He's probably doing scout team all week for the defense to get them prepared for the offense they're going against. So if you don't prepare as if you're the starter, you'll step into the game and it'll literally be the first time you've ever gone through any of these reads consistently. So, for my preparation, I stay after practice every day and I go through all the plays from practice. And I go through all the plays that, maybe I'm not as comfortable with this play, so let me try out the footwork, try out the throw to get comfortable with that play. Because if you don't prepare like that, you won't be ready when your number's called. Got a perfect story for that. In 2018 preseason, it's the third preseason game. We're playing against the Miami Dolphins. So I think it was our fourth preseason game, technically. But we're playing against the Miami Dolphins. And coach comes to me at the beginning of the week. He says, RG, you started in the Bears game. You played well in the last 2 games, so we're not gonna play you this game at all. I'm like, okay, I got you. I'm the fourth quarterback. I'm like, yeah, I was blessed to get the start in the first game anyway. And so the whole week I'm thinking to myself, man, I should make sure I stay ready just in case. So I go after practice every day. I'm not getting any reps in practice. I mean, I'm talking about a 20 play section, no reps.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, am I the Heisman winner? Am I the rookie of the year? Am I the guy that led this team to the playoffs? So I'm thinking that. I'm like, all right, well, if I am that guy, I got to continue to stay ready. So I stay ready after practice. I'd run all the plays. I'm doing all this stuff. Everyone's like, man, what are you doing? You're not even playing this week. I'm like, yeah, just routine, telling them routine. But for myself, I'm like, I got to be ready to go. I don't know what's going to happen. A guy could stub his toe, get sick. You never know. Day of the game, coach calls me and says, RG, he calls me RG3. So RG3, you're starting. No reps all week. Not one. Didn't sniff a rep. I'm starting the game. Oh, also, we're not going to play your two starting wideouts. We're not going to play Marshall Yanda. We're not going to play both starting tackles. So it'll be you versus the Miami Dolphins defense with Cameron Wake and all these other guys screaming off the edge, and it'll be you with the second group. I said, all right, I got you. Can't flinch. Well, we went out there, and I think we put up 20 points on them in the first half, and we ran the ball up and down the field on them. And I played well enough that in the last preseason game, when usually if you're the fourth quarterback, you play a lot in that game, I didn't play at all. And I made the team. And they told me I earned it, and the reason that I earned it was because of how I played and how I was prepared and ready to go in that Dolphins game. So I don't look at myself as a backup. I don't prepare as if I'm a backup. But I do know that at the drop of a dime, I could be in the game, and I have to be ready. So how do I do that? That's how you do it. When you're the starter, it's easy. You get all the reps. They're talking to you. They're including you in all the stuff, and you're ready to roll. But when you're not the starter and you're the second starter, it's more on you to get ready to roll. And like I said, I'm not going to be the reason that I fail. So I make sure I put the work in.
You hosted a youth football camp at Baylor last year, and when we spoke at that, you kind of said the same thing, but hoping that you instill through all your different experiences, whether it was how you came back from an injury or preparing as the second starter, kind of hoping that you would instill that message, not just to the campers, but also the Baylor team who is helping with that camp. I want to hear from you, your thoughts on how that camp went, if you were able to do that, and, just your thoughts on overall your experience coming back to Baylor and hosting that.
Yeah. I mean, my own experience at Baylor was awesome, right? So coming back and getting reinvigorated and reingrained in that community with Coach Rule at the time, I felt was incredible. I thought they did a great job with the camp, not only pubbing the camp, but getting the kids to come out and helping at the camp. I thought that was phenomenal. I didn't have to run every single station, but I was able to run what I felt like were some of the most important stations. So the misconception is that when you're competing with someone, you have to try to undercut them somehow, right? You have to try to beat them without them knowing you're beating them. So when I'm talking to all these kids and I'm talking about mechanics, it's like, look, this guy right here who's 6'6" might throw the ball a little bit different than this guy right here who's 5'7". Okay, he might have some different mechanics. He might have a longer arm. He might, might have longer legs or shorter legs, whatever it may be. But how you get to certain positions to throw the ball should be eerily similar. And that's kind of what I was trying to get across to them. And for me personally with competition, I'm not going to try to cheat you to beat you. All right. I want you to be at your best so that when I look you in the face and I beat you, you know that you gave it your best shot. I gave it my best shot. That's kind of how I operate. So with these kids, it's not like I'm trying to take away some of their growth by not telling them something. They're the next generation. If I remember vividly, I forget what the kid's name, but he's the starting quarterback at Westlake. And he came to the camp. I think he's highly recruited. He's got a bunch of offers. And this kid eventually, if I want to play for 15 more years until I'm 45, he's eventually going to be my competition, right? I don't have to ever throw a route against him, but if he's in the league, I'm competing against him. I don't feel threatened by that. I want to give back to the next generation. I want them to learn the things that I didn't know. I wasn't a camp kid, right? I didn't do all the camps. I didn't go to the Elite Eights, and I was running track in the summer. I could care less about, Trent Dilfer or these Elite Eight camps or what you're ranked here or there. And I still was able to make it and be the second pick. So it's not that you have to be a camp kid, but why not come and get that information? Why not come and steal that information from a guy who's seen it, done it, and seen a lot of it and done a lot of it? So I thought it was awesome. The camp went phenomenal. We wanted to do it again this year. Obviously, the coronavirus knocked that out, but we're looking forward with Coach Aranda to get it going next year, prayerfully, and have some more fun with it and really open up the camp a little bit more.
Yeah, I hope that happens in the years to come. You met Coach Aranda, didn't you, when you were here for that gala and then the basketball game? Any particular thoughts you came away with of him from that?
Yeah, so I met him, and I'm like, where is he at? Like, you would, with Coach Aranda, it's like very, very soft-spoken man, but it comes off with a certain intensity, if that makes sense. It's
sure.
It's different than what I experienced with Coach Browse. It's different than what I experienced with Coach Rule and how they go about their business. But he has, his track record speaks for itself, and I think he's put together a phenomenal staff. I really enjoy following them all on social media. I think it's pretty funny. Kind of the things that they do and just the way they engage. So it was awesome to meet him. I got to sit down and talk to him after that meeting at the game and talk to him about the camp. And I thought he had some really great ideas to continue to extend the camp and extend its reach. And I think he's going to do a great job at Baylor University. He'll have the support of us, the alumni, have the support of his team. And I really look forward to seeing what they do. I'm praying that we have college football and all that stuff as long as it's safe to be played. And I know those kids are working hard for it.
Relationships, community, home. Now more than ever, these are the things that we're holding fast to. Home should restore us from today and ready us for tomorrow. It's where stories are told and relationships are forged. Within those walls, memories are made, laughter is shared, and family is gathered around the table. For these reasons, we believe in home, and that right now, there is no better place to be. If you and your family are looking to buy or sell a home, head over to MagnoliaRealty.com. Magnolia is a proud sponsor of Baylor Athletics.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Well, I know we're praying for college football, working at Baylor. We're praying for NFL football for you and all of our other guys who were just drafted. But you've been with the Ravens for the past couple of seasons. Just what's your time been with them like, and what's something that maybe you've taken away from working with that organization?
I'll answer the last part first. It's this organization is top notch, first class. I talked with my guy LJ when he first got there, and I told him, I said there was no better place for him to be drafted. They just know how to do it. They know how to support, right? I always felt like at Baylor, I had the support of everybody, right? I had the support of you guys, I had the support of the coaches. The fans, the fans are the fans, right? I still remember one time I went to a class at Baylor, and the teacher was making fun of the football team.
Oh.
That was my freshman year. Well, by my senior year, they weren't doing that anymore. But, fans will always be, they're fanatics, right? So they're always high or they're low. But as an organization, you should feel like the whole organization is behind you and propping you up to give you the best chance of success. And I really feel like the Ravens are that. That's exactly what they do. When I came in, they told me, be yourself. We're going to accept you for who you are, and we want you to help this team be great. and just to see how they go about it every single day. Every level of the organization all has one goal in mind, that's winning, and that's making the players look good, right? We can go out and play, we can do all these things, but they bring us opportunities. They're the ones who frame the stories the way that they need to be framed. And I think that gets overlooked a lot in the NFL. And there's great franchises, and there's franchises that are always marred in controversy. And I think it's about how they go about doing it from the top down. And the Ravens do it phenomenally. So my time with the Ravens has been awesome. Like I said, I'm in the last year of my deal here in Baltimore, and it could go a bunch of different ways, right? I could hit free agency next year. I could and become a starter. I could get traded and become a starter, or I could sign an extension here in Baltimore, with my eyes still on being a starter. But understanding that the Ravens is a great situation for me. But it's got to be mutual, right? And, right now we've been talking about an extension, talking about what that would look like, and have a commitment from both sides that, that's what we want to work towards and that's what we want to do. Obviously, all this Corona stuff has put a lot of stuff on hold, and there's some guys that need to get signed to extensions to make that happen for me. So that's where I'm at right now. And, I love Baltimore. I love the city. I love my teammates. It's a great organization, and I wouldn't mind being here for a long time. But obviously, I want to be a starter. It's not just I want to be a trillionaire. Everybody wants to be a trillionaire, okay? All right. So, I want to be a starter, and I'm more than sure every quarterback in the league wants to be a starter. But that I don't wake up every day and do what I do to be the second starter. I do it because that is my goal. I'm not 38, 39 years old. As a second starter, I'm 30 years old. Tom Brady is 63 now? I don't know how old, but at the same time, that's what I want to do. And I'm not, if they're going to have to tell me, hey, we don't want you to play anymore in order for me to stop playing. So that's my goal. And I think they see me that way. And hopefully they show me that whenever we continue to have those conversations about an extension.
Tell you what, seeing you in a number 3 jersey, it struck me. Why have you not worn number 3?
I know, right?
Why is it just now happening?
It fits the name.
Yeah, it fits perfectly.
Yeah, I honestly, I lean on my rock and talk to my wife about it. When I signed to Baltimore, I had the opportunity to take 10 again, and we just said, look, just gotta start over, right?
I got you.
Just new beginning. I cut my hair that year. I'm growing it back out now, but I cut my hair that year, and it's like, man, why not? RG3, number 3 seems to go perfect together, and we went with it. So it's been awesome. Had conversations about going back to 10, but right now I think 3 is fitting. RG3, it's my third team, and an opportunity for redemption. So just got to keep going.
And it's also your foundation.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So with for I would say the last 5 years, really just wanted to figure out a way to give back and make the world a better place. Right. I was just on a Zoom call with a business leader who has one of the fastest growing businesses in their sector, and he said there's great businesses that with great people that want to do well, but don't have a good business, plan to get to where they want to go. And I feel like that's kind of where my foundation has been for like the last 4 or 5 years. Just, we want to do well. We want to impact the world in a positive way. And we just haven't had a proper way to get there. So what we did with everything that's going on with the civil unrest is we started selling these bands to give back to really the community, because some people, when they hear Black Lives Matter, it becomes a real divisive issue for them. But it's really just to instill and infuse and invest money back into our own communities for the people who are at need. So we started selling these bands, and the bands are selling like crazy, and it's been a phenomenal thing. So really what we're focusing on is getting into the communities and getting the things changed that need to be changed, right? There's certain things that happen in our country that shouldn't be happening, right? Everyone, the big names right now are George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, right? So you hear all these names, and immediately the images start flooding into your brain. So for us, we just want to go about and instill positive change. It's not about, for us, it's not about burning everything to the ground, right? It's fix the things that need to be fixed, right? The police brutality or certain guidelines or certain practices that need to be eradicated, let's go get them eradicated. And it takes money to do that, right? It takes money, it takes time, it takes leverage to be able to go and do that. So I've already started working with the district attorney down in Coryell County, where I'm from, in Copper's Cove, and I'm on a board there that's going to help oversee a lot of the minority cases that they have. And it's really about not just talking about it, right? I think I just saw that the Minnesota bailout fund raised $35 million to bail out protesters in Minnesota, and they used 200,000 of it to bail out protesters. So where's that other money at, right? Yeah. So a lot of people don't trust foundations, and they don't trust to give money because they don't know where that money's going. And for us, we're not trying to raise money to pay off our payroll. We're not trying to raise money to fill up our pockets. And I don't want to mischaracterize any other foundations out there, because I know there are administrative costs for a lot of foundations, but the way we're set up, we can put 100% of our money back into the community. So that's kind of the way we're going about it. And we need help, right? We need help. And, maybe that comes from Baylor alumni. Maybe that comes from Baylor University. Maybe it comes from the city, right? I've got 2 million followers on Twitter. If every single one of my followers on Twitter gave $1, it's $2 million. You know what I mean? It doesn't take much. It just takes a lot of people. And I think that's the perfect way to put it for what our world needs right now. We need people. We need everybody. You have to check yourself. You have to check your community. You have to check your surroundings to make sure you're not allowing things that aren't right to just happen. And for the longest, I know for myself as a pro athlete, it's always been protect the brand. Don't say anything controversial. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about anything that's decisive or divisive, should I say. Well, this isn't that. This isn't a political issue. This is a human rights issue. This is about treating people right, and that's what I was taught when I went to Baylor. That's what I was taught growing up. Treat people how you want to be treated. I don't think anybody wants to be put in a chokehold or have someone kneel on their neck for 8 minutes, while they're handcuffed and they're not doing anything, and die. It's not about not breaking the law. It's about, hey, if something happens, right, and you find yourself in police custody for whatever reason, you shouldn't die just because of the color of your skin. You shouldn't be treated as more of a threat just because of the color of your skin. So through our foundation, we are raising money. We have an initiative called the This Is For Us initiative. And we have a GoFundMe that's up right now to raise $1 million to try to go into the local governments, local and state governments, and work with those city officials to find the right ways to build up our communities and find the right ways to eliminate some of the practices that have been in place for so long that people just kind of forget about, right? It's one thing to say, go vote. It's another thing to go say, be an educated voter, right? Don't just vote party line because I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, It's what are their practices? What do they believe in? Because politics is a very interesting game, I would say. And a lot of times once you get in, you're there forever. And people have to understand that. You have to elect people who are actually going to do positive things for your community. You're in control of that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate people, and we're trying to go in and be that voice of reason for them, right? You guys have a job. I have a job. Most people have a job. You can't just spend all day protesting. You can't just spend all day talking and trying to go and implement change. So let us do that for you. Let our foundation do that for you, whether it's $1, $2, Shoot, if Jeff Bezos wants to give $1 billion, I'm all good with it. And allow us to go and be that champion for you. And that's kind of how we set it up. And I think we're going to hit the ground running as soon as we get the funds to get it done. I think we have a better vision and a better map of how to get it done.
If you need a trailer, Flat Rock Trailers has got you covered. From light-duty single-axle utility trailers to the Big Tex tandem duals. We also carry a full line of enclosed cargo trailers. Need a motorcycle trailer? We've got them. Need a dump trailer? We've got the largest selection in the state. Oilfield trailers? We carry a full line of Big Tex trailers to handle all your needs. Trailer repairs? We repair all makes and models. We'll even rent you a trailer if you need to use one for a day. Flat Rock Trailers, your #1 source for all your trailer needs. Find us at flatrocktrailers.com.
Relationships, community, home. Now more than ever, these are the things that we're holding fast to. Home should restore us from today and ready us for tomorrow. It's where stories are told and relationships are forged. Within those walls, memories are made, laughter is shared, and family is gathered around the table. For these reasons, we believe in home, and that right now, there is no better place to be. If you and your family are looking to buy or sell a home, head over to magnoliarealty.com. Magnolia is a proud sponsor of Baylor Athletics.
To say my wife and I have a lot to clean is an understatement. So we go to T&G Chemical, where the pros know what cleaning solutions to use and give us detailed instructions on exactly how to use them. We never got that kind of advice from any other stores. And the prices at T&G are great. From general household cleaners to odor control solutions for our pets. We go to T&G Chemical and Supply. That's why.
T&G Chemical and Supply. That's why.
You're listening to the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Here again are Brooke Bednarz and John Morris.
Well, we know and we can tell that you're very passionate about this. You're very thoughtful in your beliefs, and what you are making your point about. And you're doing what you can, from your position. Some people have said, I can remember this way back, that maybe there's a career in politics for you. Is that in the back of your mind maybe when your playing days are over?
I feel like I would never say never. What I would say is that sometimes people pick politics, and they pick politics for all the wrong reasons. And sometimes politics picks you. So if that ends up being the case for me, I would rather be picked by the people to go represent the people than to say, I'm going to go do this and make a career out of it. I don't want to be a career politician. I've worked hard my entire life to get to where I'm at. And, some part of me wants to be able to sit down and relax, right, when it's all said and done.
Sure.
But if it picks me and I'm the voice, and I can be a voice for the people to go out and help, then I'm more than willing to do that. I've always said I want to go back, even if it is just to Baylor, and, possibly be the president of Baylor one day. I've always tried to shy away from that because I don't want anyone to feel threatened. I want to work with everybody, not against anybody. I'm not trying to take anybody's job. I'm not trying to do anything to make anybody feel uncomfortable. But I feel like God calls you to do certain things, and if it's politics, then it's politics. And hopefully I can be what the people need and not what they don't.
Well, we have kind of a staple here as we wrap things up, and thank you for spending time with us here today. But we're going to kind of make it twofold for you since you're still playing. So once everything kind of clears up and you can get actually back on a football field and in a weight room and start moving forward, hopefully for a season, what are you looking forward to most when the NFL and Baylor Athletics finally return?
Man, when they finally return, what am I looking forward to most? Honestly,
for the end.
I'm looking forward to seeing just how sports can impact the country, right? A lot of people have been calling for sport to come back because they want a distraction. And I think that with everything that's going on, and I just saw what happened at Oklahoma State with Gundy and his running back, people are starting to realize that they have a platform. And the days, I feel like the days of, shut up and dribble or shut up and throw or don't bring politics into my sports, I think those days are over. Because I don't think it's politics, right? It's just standing up for what's right. No brand should be based off of racism, right? Quick stat for you. The NFL is made up of 70% African Americans, right? People of color. The American population is only made up of about 12% African American. So football is the most popular sport in America. Some would say the world, right? So who's supporting that? It's the majority. It's the people who look like you guys that are supporting sports in general, NBA, MLB, football, soccer, MLS, whatever it may be. You guys are the ones who are supporting it. So why is it that if someone protests brutality or some injustice, why is that frowned upon? And I think people are starting to realize that, man, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be frowned upon. That is not politics. And I think that sports has an opportunity to be that voice, be that unifying factor. And you've seen it here and there, right, with the I Can't Breathe shirts in the NBA and certain protests in the NFL. But we don't want the protests to be divisive. We want them to be uniting. We want everyone to see and say, man, I agree with that. I love the flag and I love the anthem, but this isn't about the flag or the anthem. This is about us. This is about how we can make this world. And when I say world, obviously our world is the United States, but we can make this country what it has always strived to be. Land of the free, liberty and justice for all. It's never been that. It's never been that. It's never been equality for all. And I think I tweeted this the other day. It's equal rights for everybody doesn't mean less rights for the majority, right? It's not pie. Everybody can get it, okay? So I think that sports can be that. And I'm very excited to see how it goes about doing that. I don't want things to just go back to, injustice happens, protest happens, everything goes back to normal, nothing gets changed. We need radical change, and I think sports can be a big part of that. Aside from playing, right? Everybody wants to play the game that they love, and we get blessed to play a game for a king's ransom. But I'm really excited to see how the different sports leagues go about implementing that change and being drivers for change.
It's very well said. We appreciate it. It's great to have you on with us. Tell your mom and dad hello. I don't see them as much as I'd like to, but tell them hello. And appreciate you giving us your time and sharing your thoughts. We love you and appreciate you, and it's great to have a little time to have this visit.
Yeah, man, I love you guys too, and I really appreciate you guys having me on and taking the time to just listen, And I look forward to being around Baylor a lot more, and I'm working with the university to become an ambassador for the university, to be there more often and be out in the forefront and help drive some of our initiatives forward. So pray for me there, that they see it the way I see it, and we can go about it and continue to build up this beautiful brand that Baylor University is.
Great. Be safe. Thanks very much.
All right, guys. God bless.
That's a great visit with Robert Griffin III, the 2011 Heisman Trophy winner from Baylor University. There's a statue outside McLean Stadium of Rob. And in large part, we have McLean Stadium because Rob and the fans that really got behind him and his success. And he just, Brooke, he's got that more than $1 million smile.
Yes.
And everybody is on board with him and what he did when he was here and what he's doing now. RG3Sports.com is the site to go to, and you heard him talk very eloquently about his foundation and what he wants to get done with that foundation.
Absolutely. He was showing us, I know we kind of pulled back the curtain, but he was showing us the bands and the hats and the things that they're selling on online for that cause as well. So you might want to go check that out. Yep, check it out. Appreciate Robert Griffin III on this week's Sick'em Podcast. For Brooke Bednarz, I'm John Morris. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back next week with another Sick'em Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sick'em Podcast. Presented by your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at AlanSamuelsDCJ.com. The Sick'em Podcast has been a production of Baylor Athletics.